Hey there, welcome back to the show. This is episode 73 of Business Storytelling Made Easy. So excited that you're here spending some time with me today. Listen, we are in the middle of Black History Month for 2023 as of the time of this recording, and I thought it would be really cool to highlight some Black-owned brands and let's walk through some storytelling lessons that can be learned as we examine these brands. So let's hop right into it. I have a couple that I want to highlight today. The first one is called the Black Bread Company. And some of these companies you may have heard of before and others maybe you have not, but the Black Bread Company was founded by three gentlemen out of Chicago. And in terms of storytelling, what I really appreciate about this brand is they're really dialed into their backstory and really well-versed and very succinctly and concisely letting you know this is what our brand is all about and this is how we got here. And I've noticed and heard them tell this story on multiple, platforms online. They were also featured on the Ellen Show, and I was very struck by the way that they were able to convey that here, this is how we got here story. So this brand came about around the time of the incident of George Floyd in 2020. One of the founders was very impacted by that event and was really wanting to invest all of his dollars within Black-owned companies, even down to his grocery shopping. And so he goes to the grocery store. The first item on his list is bread, and he's in the bread aisle, and he's like, all right, well, want to make sure that I patronize a Black-owned company. Let me find some bread that is being created and put on the shelf by a Black-owned company. Couldn't find it. Went to Google, couldn't find it. And spurred by those events, he called up two of his friends, and the Black Bread Company was born. And they are, I believe, the first, it might be the only sliced Black-owned bread company. And so really what this story allowed them to do is to not only talk about how they got here, but then they use that as a vehicle to begin to talk about what our brand is all about, right? So they believe in family, right? They believe in that connection. So even within their friendship, you can kind of get a feel for that. Also, they talk about how their brand is a vehicle for Black wealth and representation in all categories. And so then they pivot from that to talk about the quality and freshness of the product. And they believe that, we want our bread to be fresh. And so whatever isn't fresh, we come back through and we donate those items to different shelters and folks in need. And so just really impressive in terms of the way that they're able to get that point across very quickly. And so a couple of takeaways for all of us as we think about storytelling. As these owners of the Black Bread Company are able to do, how easy would it be for you to tell your backstory if the Today Show called you up and was like, listen, I want to talk to you. And they posed a question to you, well, how did you get here? Tell us all about it. What would you say? Would you be able to bring that to life and really capture the spirit of the whole story within 60 seconds or less? And I think that's one of the great lessons that this brand is teaching us, and they've got it dialed in so much that once again, they can repeat it over and over. Matter of fact, I can repeat it over and over. And so when we think about storytelling, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is it repeatable, right? So does it include those distinguishable kind of imagery moments that people can repeat and pass on? Because I don't know about you, but I'm certainly picturing him in the bread aisle, confused and on his phone, Googling and what have you. And so really being able to tell a story in a concise manner, but still getting that imagery across that sticks with people and allows them to repeat it and really become evangelists and ambassadors for your brand. So kudos to the Black Bread Company. Next up, we have a brand that I've been using for many, many years and didn't know until recently that it was Black owned, but it's one of my favorite brands and one of my things that I love to use, and it's called Calendly. And you may or may not have heard of Calendly, but it's a super cool tool that helps you to schedule meetings. I'm sure you've been in a situation where you're trying to schedule time with someone and just trying to get your calendars to synchronize. So you're available on Tuesday at 3 and they're available on Thursday at noon. And how do we get all that together and how do we get the Zoom link out there, right? So what Calendly comes in and does is just simplifies that whole process. And so you can send someone a link to your calendar. They can see the availability. They can slot themselves in when they're available. And it really streamlines the whole process and makes something that could be super complicated and cumbersome, makes it very simple and easy to do. So as I said, this is a Black-owned company. It was founded by a man of color who, essentially wanted to make scheduling easier for everybody, right? So he, kind of risked it all to make this vision come to life. So what I find interesting about Calendly is they're not necessarily leading with, we're a quote unquote Black-owned company, right? That's not always necessary or desired, and that's perfectly fine. But what I love about Calendly is that the story of simplified scheduling for everyone and this simplified process, it comes to life in the whole experience. It comes to life as you experience them online. It comes to life as you use the product. It is so overwhelmingly obvious that, whoa, something that could be and has been in the past super difficult to do, now it's easy to do. And I love that they're bringing that idea forward in the experience and also the way that they talk about the product. So I love that, the continuity between the user experience and the core belief. So again, storytelling is not just about storytelling. It's also about walking the talk and how do people actually experience your brand. It should be consistent with that messaging and the things that you've been putting forward. So I love that, this tool to me in my eyes is just super cool and revolutionary. I would love to see Calendly tell even more stories. And this is why I say that. In researching this brand, I've learned, I personally have benefited from it, but my eyes were kind of open to all the different ways that the tool can be used. So think about it from this perspective. It helps to accelerate business growth, as they highlight on their website. So if you think about retention and onboarding, as you're able to, streamline the process as you're interfacing with, prospects and potential employees, it really does help to boost that whole process and keep people engaged. They also note that their tool helps to improve team productivity and efficiency. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that. I didn't think about that, but I can definitely see all of that. And I would love to see some kind of transformation stories and, people that have really benefited from this tool on a high level to boost their business. I would love to see some of those folks highlighted and those stories told, and just kind of brought to life even more to illustrate the data and kind of illustrate the full force and the full impact of this super cool brand. But I will say one way that I've seen Calendly use storytelling that I think is pretty masterful is leveraging other folks and what they're saying about the brand and using that as a vehicle to continue to tell their story. So I spotted a post from the company on LinkedIn, and what they did is they leveraged some user-generated content to tell their story. So there was a person on Twitter who put a tweet out, and he said, "I just learned Calendly has a Chrome extension, and I think it might change my life." So in other words, he's finding, Calendly and all the bells and whistles that are included so kind of revolutionary and useful to his life. He's like, whoa, I gotta talk about it. Like, wow, I didn't know it had this feature. This is really interesting. And so what Calendly did is they took that tweet and they kind of use it as a springboard. You know what? We do think that our extension will change your life. These are some of the features and benefits that go along with our Chrome extension. And so again, I'd say, what is the lesson here? It could be, what are people already saying about your brand? What kind of stories are they already putting out there? You might not even think about it as a story, right? But it could be some comment or some insight or some revelation or just their thought pattern around your brand. How can you leverage what they're already saying, what their thought process already is, and begin to use that in your storytelling, begin to adapt and use that as a starting point to begin to further educate folks and help them understand the impact of what you do. And so if you have not checked out Calendly, this is not a sponsored uh episode, but I would say definitely check it out. I know I found it super useful. And maybe you're using something similar, but I have an affinity for Calendly. So, what is our third Black-owned brand that we want to highlight in terms of storytelling? Well, I want to talk to you about the Lip Bar. The Lip Bar. Have you ever heard of the Lip Bar? Well, the Lip Bar is led by CEO Melissa Butler. And I believe that she says it better than I can. So I'm going to share with you the story from their website. It's brief, but it's worth repeating. This is from the Lip Bar's website. Wall Street expat, Shark Tank reject, trails blazed, bar raised, proudly self-made. Fed up with the toxic one shade fits most beauty industry, the self-made CEO, Melissa Butler, turned her frustration into action, stepping off the lucrative but soulless corporate ladder and into her Brooklyn kitchen to whip up vibrant vegan lipstick. A rejection on Shark Tank only fueled Melissa's tenacious spirit, motivating her to reclaim power over her own dream. She grew the Lip Bar beyond lipstick to TLB, award-winning maximum impact, minimal effort, beauty must-haves for all. So, first of all, copywriting. Listen, chef's kiss, okay? Like this brought together so much, and I want you to take note in how quickly it brought it together. We were not going on and blah, blah this and blah, blah that. Quickly brought it together, quickly helped us understand so much about the brand. Now, we've got a couple of things going on. A story has a character, a person, right? And we have that in the CEO. She's kind of the star of this story. A story has feeling, right? So we talk about frustration, right? So we talk about taking action because of that frustration. A story has challenges. So she's brought to life, this has not just been all peaches and cream for me. I was rejected on Shark Tank, right? I've had frustration. It hasn't just been up and up and up. I've had some challenges. And then she also brings in this imagery. So when she says, went into her Brooklyn kitchen to whip up lipstick, I can see the Brooklyn kitchen. I don't know about you, but I am in the Brooklyn kitchen. Okay. And then she's also within these elements educated us really masterfully on what this brand is all about. So when you say one shape fits most, okay, I understand you saw a gap in the market. You're here to help people of color make sure that they're represented within beauty products. And you want it to be for all. You think that all people should have access to whatever it is they need in terms of beauty products. And so this is a good one, y'all. This is a good one. So what can we learn here? I want you to learn about taking all these different aspects and bringing them together to tell what your brand really is about, right? So she could have very well said, it was 95 and I made my first lipstick and now, we have 2 factories and go buy our product, right? But really in the kind of masterful bringing together of all the elements into a story, it's just really cool to see. And so what is the takeaway for you? Are you juicing out all the elements that you're experiencing to be part of your story? Is there anything that you're kind of hiding that you think like, I don't know if we should include that or not. And maybe you shouldn't, but it's worth asking. It's worth asking. All of the different experiences that you experience personally and for your brand could be really useful content for a story. So I don't know Melissa Butler personally, but super proud of this brand. They currently hold the most space for a Black-owned brand in Target. Just here recently, she's got 6 feet of space in Target, and that is nothing to sneeze at. And I think part of her success in my eyes, is within her ability to position herself much different from those in the market. And that's because of her ability to bring together this story. So kudos to TLB, the lip bar, Melissa Butler, and her awesome story. All right, let's go into another kind of, I don't know if you call this beauty, but health and beauty brand, Black owned. This one is called Black Girl Sunscreen. This is literally the name of it, Black Girl Sunscreen. And what I appreciate about this brand is two things. Its ability to launch into visual storytelling. Storytelling isn't just about words, it's also about images and education. Sometimes there's a need to educate your audience in terms of product use, product need, etc. And I feel like this brand really hits the mark. So let's dial it all the way back. Let's talk about Black folks and sunscreen. Let's talk about it. So there's a couple of things at play here. The first one is a lot of people of color really don't believe they have a need for sunscreen because, our skin has more melanin in it. That's what gives it that darker tone. And so, it doesn't burn as easy, right? So it appears to be much more resilient. So it's like, do I really need that? And oftentimes, folks that raised us, folks that are older than us, they didn't necessarily use it. So it's not something that we are accustomed to reaching for. The second issue is that let's say we do overcome that hurdle and you decide, okay, I want to use sunscreen. Well, honey, you're going to end up looking like Casper the Ghost because a lot of the sunscreen brands out here, they're just not engineered for darker skin. And so what you end up with is this white cast and you walking around scaring folks. Okay, so here comes Black Girl Sunscreen, and they are kind of turning all of those ideas on their head. So let me share with you a little bit of the language off of their website so you can get a feel for what I'm talking about. So here's what they say. Black don't crack, or does it? Skin is skin. Black people can still get sunburn and suffer from sun damage, fine lines, and premature aging. Melanin only protects a percentage of UV rays. Black people are susceptible to melanoma and hyperpigmentation, meaning, dark spots. The most effective sunscreens have an SPF of 30. It's important to add sun protection to your daily routine. And so what I enjoy about this brand is if you follow them on Instagram and their social channels, what they're really doing is bringing these facts to life through visual storytelling and education. And so they're showing these beautiful women of color using the product, skin glowing, thriving. And so it's putting the thought out there, well, wait a minute, if you want your skin to thrive on this level, you need to be using sunscreen. Are you using sunscreen? Oh, you didn't think you needed sunscreen? Well, let me tell you why you need sunscreen, right? So it's drawing people in with the imagery of what we want. We want to thrive, we want to be healthy, we want to look good, right? And then also layering in that education. And so I appreciate this brand for stepping into the market, seeing a gap, and providing a really viable option for people, and bringing the story together in such a way where now we're educated in a way that we were not before. And so if we take a step back and think about, okay, what can you take away personally from the brand Black Girl Sunscreen? Is there a way in which you need to educate your audience about something? If so, how can you leverage story to do so in a more impactful way? So yes, you could just tell them, right? You could book report it out, but is there a way that either visually or through some sort of illustration, you can bring to life those tidbits or those facts in a way that actually draws them in and keeps them coming back, keeps them interested, right? So what is it? Maybe something that they want, and you can use that to layer in, well, hey, let me give you this piece of education about this, and let me use the vehicle of story to do so. So just another brand that I just enjoy so much watching their journey. Finally, I want to highlight one more brand, and this brand is called Mess in a Bottle. Mess in a Bottle. Have you heard of Mess in a Bottle? It is led by Kalila Wright and began as a t-shirt brand, and it's very much driven by messages. So mess is kind of short for messages. And there'll be text and different messages on the t-shirts, and they were packaged in these bottles. And that's how the items were sold. And she has since then grown her business, so much more, and has a breadth in her product offering. What I enjoy about this brand is that Kalila really steps forward, is kind of the spokesperson for the brand, as many people do for their brands. But I love how she's not afraid to show her passion. I love how she's not afraid to be authentic. I love how she's not afraid to show both her successes and her challenges, and where she's still trying to figure it out. And that's what Story is. Story is, I'm going on a journey. And if you follow this brand online, you kind of get that feel. And so I say to you, how can you bring in more authenticity in your storytelling? And it does not mean that you're telling everything. Everything isn't appropriate. But sometimes that behind the scenes, that thing that I'm still learning, that I'm still struggling with, that lesson that I learned through this challenging situation, it really helps to draw people in, because we can all relate to that. We can't relate to all I do is win. Like, I wish all I did was win, but at the same time, I'm struggling over here, I'm struggling over there. And so when you as a brand can draw me in to that type of story where, you know what, you had those kind of dark moments or unsure moments and you overcame, it really gives me something to stick my teeth into, that I want to continue to come back for more. Isn't that what we want? We want people to come back for more. And so I really love how Mess in a Bottle is really not afraid to show passion and show authenticity. And I think that's what rallies the community around that brand. All right. So hopefully you've learned a thing or two about not only these great brands, but also how to tell stories in a way that will build community, build impact, and build profits. All right. That's all for today. Hope to see you guys next time. Bye.